Naval officers detected strange ocean disturbances and sonar reports kept coming in. Only something extremely heavy dropping down into the ocean could cause this, and Captain Mia Harris's team was charged with examining the tremors. The buoy that detected the most tremors was about 20 miles offshore. There, in the middle of the ocean, a significant surprise was waiting for their arrival. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and smash the notification button for more exclusive stories. The Coast Guard boys measured large-scale disturbances in the waters, with sonar reports continuing to arrive. Something extremely heavy dropping into the ocean could cause this, and Captain Mia Harris's team was sent to explore the tremors. When Mia and her team arrived at the scene, they got straight to work. Mia, also the main researcher, customarily dove down first. She went up and saw their target after just a couple of minutes. There was an enormous shipping container present at the bottom of the ocean, and it was evident that Mia could not lift the metal object out of the water with her bare hands. So when Mia resurfaced, she quickly ordered the ship's diving robot to take over. "Let's get it onto our boat," she called. Luckily, they didn't leave their research facility with just any vessel. Their ship had high-end equipment, which Mia was qualified to use. With her orders in place, her colleagues prepared the drone to delve down deep. But not a soul was ready for the bizarre discovery that was about to be made. As the drone was lowered into the water, Mia took over the controls, and the exciting part of the mission commenced. The water was calm and clear, making it easy to navigate toward the container at the bottom. But reaching the object would not turn out to be the tricky part. Once the vessel was reached, it was time for the machine to start lifting. It attached its extending claws around the container sides. From that point on, the ship simply had to pull in the robot. But this turned out to be more difficult than expected. The container was unexpectedly heavy. Their ship's crane was capable of lifting massive objects, but somehow this simple shipping container made their machine work extremely hard. The entire boat rocked back and forth and even took on some water while lifting the metal box out of the water. "What the hell is in there?" Mia said. With much effort and a few nervous faces, they eventually managed to lift the mysterious container out of the water. With a loud bang, it landed on the deck of their ship, and the entire crew instantly rushed in to inspect the exciting find. "What is it? Why is it here? What is inside?" Mia's co-workers might have been thrilled, but the one who was truly intrigued was Mia herself. She noticed something that dodged her colleagues. A shipping container wasn't usually watertight, so when lifted off the ocean floor, one might expect water to leak out of every hole. But somehow that wasn't the case here. This plain-looking shipping container was insulated as if it was designed to keep every drop of water out. But why? The team's deck workers, who formed the crew's muscle, had already started pulling on the door handle with a large bolt cutter. The main lock on the container was cut off, and afterward, the door handles were pulled aside. Slowly but surely, the container doors swung open. Mia stepped back to look at the container as a whole and shook her head. She was absolutely speechless. The inside of the container was fully furnished. There was a bed, couch, closet, and table with chairs. It had everything any typical household had. "Has any of you ever seen anything like this?" Mia asked her colleagues, but everyone in the group shared the same disbelief and confusion about the dreadful finding. There were many questions. Where did this come from? Who would live like this? And why? It didn't take long for the group to start investigating. Mia was astonished not only by the fact that the container was fully furnished, but also by the fact that everything was still somewhat in place. They quickly discovered that everything was nailed to the floor. However, some loose items were scattered on the ground, and they found photos of a man and his family. Did he or they live in the container? Who were they, and what happened? They continued the search to find answers to those questions. They searched every inch of the container, but didn't find anything that got them closer to the truth. Mia let out a frustrated sigh and was about to give up when one of her colleagues suddenly let out an excited yell. When she turned around, she could see him holding up a plastic Ziploc bag. But what sparked his excitement was what was inside. Some sort of recorder. This was a good clue, and she pressed play with good faith. It was a male voice, probably from the man in the pictures. This was great. It was hard to understand the recording out in the middle of the ocean, so the group quickly moved inside. At first, it was mostly background noise, but then the voice sounded clear. "I need to record this before they notice we are here and capture us," it responded to someone in the background. There was a short silence, and then the man cleared his throat and introduced himself as Yusuf Ali. "I hope someone will find the container in this recording and be able to help. We are in desperate need of assistance. We are on the Ever Cargo Voyager, but I don't know for how long. Please save us." The tone of the man got more and more desperate. Then the recorder stopped. Again, Mia tried to get it to work again, but her efforts were futile. It was broken. The room fell silent. They were all speechless. Everybody realized something terrible had happened to the people the container belonged to. But what exactly? And could they help them? Then Mia thought of something. The ship had been sighted multiple times, but only seemed to land for a short while each time. It only refueled and moved minimal cargo, even though it was filled with containers. Mia reviewed the log database again, hoping to find more information about the vessel. She exclaimed when she noticed its last seen location. "It's close." The weird reports in the log database, in the ominous recording, were enough for Mia to try to track down the ship. The location of the vessel when last seen wasn't too far away, so they could be there soon, and if they deciphered the man in the recording correctly, time was of the essence. Mia ensured everyone aboard was on the same page and was happy to see everyone share her concern about the situation. She gave the captain the coordinates of the ship's last known location. Once they arrived, they were surprised to see the vessel floating 20 miles from the coast. It was just lying there. Even though Mia and her colleagues were curious to find out what was happening, they were also nervous about getting close. The recording sounded very frightening, and they agreed that this wasn't just a job for them, they needed help. "I will signal the Coast Guard and police," Mia said resolutely. Mia ensured that when the Coast Guard arrived with the police, they were out of the cargo ship's line of sight. Once the officers were aboard, she quickly explained the situation and told them what they had heard on the recording. She was relieved that the police believed her and took it very seriously. Meanwhile, the captain gave orders to his workers, and there was a lot of activity on the ship. They had been waiting for half an hour when they got their response. The workers on the ship let down a ladder so the trio could climb aboard. The captain greeted them gruffly when they were finally up on the deck. "You have 1 hour," he said, after which he ordered everyone back to work. Mia smiled and tried her best to act like she was making recordings. Mia and the officers walked over the ship, trying to discover what was going on while acting as unnoticeable as possible. But there was nothing that indicated anything was wrong. They probably used the last half hour to conceal any evidence. Out of desperation, Mia started to whisper the man's name. "Yusuf Ali, are you here?" She repeated it a few times as the trio walked between multiple containers. Then suddenly, one of the containers beside them opened up, and they were pulled inside, after which the door closed again. The trio was surprised to see that the container was filled with people. But the container wasn't only filled with people. This one was furnished like the container they had pulled out of the ocean. "Who are you?" a man demanded. Mia immediately recognized him from the pictures and the recording. She stepped forward and explained who they were and that they found his recording. Yusuf's expression immediately cleared up. "I can't believe it. I mean, I hoped it would get found, but I didn't actually think it would be," the man went on. He shook their hands excitedly and let out a sigh of relief. "This is our chance to get off this horrible ship," he said to the others. Yusuf explained that he and all the others were looking for passage to a safe country. He heard rumors about a ship taking people abroad and doing just that. But once he was on board, things changed. "In return for the journey, I had to work on the ship for 1 year, but they kept extending that period, never letting me get ashore," Yusuf explained. "I've been here for 2 years, but some of these people have lived here much longer. Everyone lived inside containers like this, and the captain and crew exploited them. The conditions were horrible, and the endless labor caused me to rebel, but the crew quickly found out I was the reason behind the uprising and took drastic measures to stop it," Yusuf sighed. He explained they threw his container overboard, removing and destroying his home in the process. But before they could, he was able to hide a message inside, hoping someone would find it. The ship was filled with families who were exploited and falsely imprisoned. They had to do something about it, and fast. Now that the police knew what was going on, they took action. They asked Yusuf how many crew members the ship had and if they could put up much of a fight. Backup was called once they had a complete picture, and a surprise raid was planned, and it worked to perfection. Due to the surprise attack, the ship's crew was quickly arrested. With the criminals in custody, the Coast Guard took control of the ship. Meanwhile, Mia helped Yusuf free all the families. Not much later, the boat docked at the nearest city. There, an emergency shelter was set up to care for the victims. It didn't take long for the media to pick up the story. It became a nationwide story, and Mia followed it closely as she returned home after the city took control of the support. She was glad that the situation had a good outcome and incredibly happy she played a part in it. What do you think of today's thrilling story? Comment your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to Nice Time channel and share the video with your friends.